Alright, hello everybody, System Chalk here, and this is going to be a little bit of a change of pace, so I'm going to try and... There's going to be an introduction to this. I'm going to try and keep it short, but I want to explain what's going on. I'm going to be putting this and a previous video in a playlist, and essentially what I'm going to be doing is continuing the playthrough from a Cultist Simulator broadcast that I did on Steam. This was to celebrate the release of The Lady Afterwards by Weather Factory. Now, here's the deal. Basically, I knew that I was getting at the end of the Apostle Obstinate playthrough. I actually managed to finish. I managed to record all of those videos before the broadcast, and part of that was intentionally so that people would see Ike upscribe inside the names and wonder what happened to the save. And one of the drawbacks is that people do really seem to enjoy those broadcasts, and there are actually people who will watch like the full 11-hour video to the very end, which is absolutely astonishing to me. Thank you if you're one of those people, by the way. But you know, please take your time. So one problem is that what's often been true is that I've been on another series whenever I do those special videos, and so I'll sometimes keep, the save, but then sort of the season passes and, the people who wanted to see that playthrough continued sort of, they just move on to other things. Obviously, you don't want to wait forever for a video that you like. So I've decided... I had a really clear idea about what I wanted to do after the Apostle Obstinate playthrough, but I would actually kind of like to continue this Physician series. And the other thing is that I need to figure out how I'm going to do breaks, because I think I've hit the goal of doing Wednesday and Friday releases pretty consistently, and I know there's a certain point where the more videos I start doing, the more I keep adding, the tougher it's going to be for me to, to get things, I don't know, just kind of keep things straight for myself. So here's the plan. I'm going to continue on the Physician playthrough, and the first video is going to be that, 12-hour broadcast on Steam. And what I'm going to be trying to do with these videos is I'm actually going to make them longer. And these are going to be sort of a halfway point between my Twitch broadcasts and my YouTube broadcasts. So the YouTube broadcasts I try to keep within a 20-minute mark. Sometimes I go over. Certainly the end of the Apostle Obstinate went over. And I try and keep conscious of the fact I don't mind doing the digressions. I think some people like those, and especially when they come up in mind in terms of the game, I think they're sort of appropriate to the themes. But one of the things I definitely hear that 2 videos a week is too short. It would be better to do longer ones or to do long videos and cut them up. Unfortunately, I canceled the computer I was buying to specifically dedicate to YouTube editing, and that's just simply that's a financial thing. I'm not in trouble, but I want to try and eliminate some debt because I've noticed that's actually constraining a few choices and opportunities that I had over the last few weeks. So again, nobody wants to hear YouTubers crying poverty. I'm in a decent place, but in order to make sure that I stay in a decent place, I wanted to make sure that I was being a little bit more responsible than what buying a new computer would get me. So, this is going to be something that hopefully I can sustain for a little while and is a little bit more freeform. So, longer introductions like this, maybe a little bit more time meandering around in the game. And what's kind of nice is that I have a very particular way that I've played Cultist Simulator, and this means that there's quite a few achievements that I haven't gotten yet. I won't say which achievements I've gotten, simply because it might be kind of fun to just leave the possibility of me having certain lost conditions or, certain endings. If people don't know what I've got, then they can't necessarily anticipate what kind of an ending I'm going for. And one of the other things I've noticed is that there's a few friends of mine who, despite the fact that they know me, they don't know about Cultist Simulator, and they became very interested in it. And so this is a chance for me to do one of the basic level videos, legacies. I'm going to try and do longer videos just to see how those work. It's always helpful to get some data. And for those of you that prefer the old format, don't worry, that's not going anywhere. But what I would really like to do here, because we now have we have the Grail legacy that I did before Ike Upscribe. That was on streams, I believe. We've now done Ike Upscribe, and we're doing the Physician. We actually now have this unbroken lineage of different characters, and I'd like to continue doing that. So we're going to have a little bit of a diversion with the Physician. I'm going to still try and do Wednesday and Friday updates. We're going to see this thing through. I think I have an idea about some of the achievements that I want to unlock with this one, and I'm going to consider this a not very break kind of break. And then the next series, I won't take the wrapping off of that yet. It's probably more fun to say what it is. But I'm going to try and get through this one honestly, and we'll move on to the next series when that's ready. And so I hope you like the new format. We'll see what happens, and as always, feel free to give me some feedback. So, ready to go into the game, and it's actually been a while since I've done that. It's been a while since I've done this broadcast, so I'm going to need a minute just to sort of reorient myself. So we are playing Lord Percival Stabbe, who is the Physician. We are pursuing enlightenment. So the Watchman, who is the door in the eye, has touched me every day. Every day now, my curiosity grows stronger. An urgent physical need, like gnawing hunger. I know this to be the third mark. So it's actually been a while since I've done an ascent. The Enlightenment was my first ascension, but I actually don't remember. I don't remember how I did it. I know like a few bits. Anyways, I believe we also have Connie Lee after us now. Connie Lee is a considerably tougher adversary than the weary detective. I'd been doing a number of commissions, I believe, and I think we still needed to fill in some roles in the cult. Okay, so this is actually not a terrible little exercise for me to go through, just simply because it's obviously been a while since I've done this. Let's just see where we're at. So we're definitely doing some expeditions. I think this might be what is it? Oh, it doesn't even say. Oh no, hang on. It's Crocus Hill. All right, my bad. Okay, well, we got past the... Or maybe there's only one obstacle? Anyways, Forge or Knock, we don't have either. So Enid is currently occupied, and so I suppose the question would be, do I want to put my Forge followers towards it, or do I want to try and put my Knock people towards it? One thing that's important to remember here is that I do not yet have I don't have disciples, so I'm not actually at a point where we're going to be getting sort of these high, like we're not able to get the highest value just by throwing some of our people at it. I think what I'll do here is I'll take the Callaghan, we'll take that Forge, we'll add a Forge follower afterwards. That'll preserve the Callaghan. I don't remember if we have evidence yet. I seem to recall we destroyed it, but it's also likely, or maybe not. Yeah, Connie Lee may not find anything quite yet. Okay, we'll save that then. Okay, Season of Suspicion we don't worry about. We are working at the Institute for money. We're reading the Locksmith's Dream. We're going through the Stag Door. I can't remember what we're trying to get through that, but we'll deal with it at the time. And we are speaking of esoteric matters. This will generate some mystique, which is going to potentially get Connie... It's going to extend Connie's attention. But we'll carry on. And do I have any books that I haven't read yet? I thought I did, but maybe the Locksmith's Dream was the last one. Enid prefers to close her eyes rather than look at me. She says it hurts to look. She says it with such longing that I can't take offense. Alright, so we've got my Knock followers back. We are the Church of the Bright Edge, which means that our highest level followers can become Edge followers. However, I believe I'm actually working on a disciple already. Yeah, Dorothy and Clovette. This is so that I can sort of launder my reputation a little bit. Alright. Janice has, they say, not one face but two, to which I reply, why only one? Why only two? Herschelt and Coseley, according to Thomas Love Denman, once agreed that Janus was all the gods and none, but later Herschelt insisted that he was all the gods, and Coseley favored simply none. Denman was a sinister dilettante, but this rings true of them both. Alright, so we've got the Ecdysis Parable, which we've already covered, and an Unmerciful Mantra. So both of these we've already recovered. Again, I just want to double check that I really don't have any other books. Okay, well that would explain... Wait a minute, what am I doing? It's right here. Okay, so we will start by translating the Rose of Hypatia, assuming that I have the language. Yes. So, marked with a triple sign of the arcane contemplative order known as the Sisterhood of the Knot, and it's in Greek. Okay, our tools are ready. We should be able to penetrate this warded door, and we will bring another level of certainty in by adding Dulcine. We'll almost certainly shatter this warded door. Okay, Season of Despair coming up next. I already have a Fleeting Reminiscence, so the fascination shouldn't be that hard to deal with. And let's do... Painted River might be a little bit of a risk because of the fascination, but I should also be able to get rid of it. Okay, well, it's an erudition, so it's not too bad. The Painted River runs from a great chamber near the White Door, far through the Mansus, to its far edge where it enters a painted delta of far cloud. I voyaged half its length last night with a stern-faced captain beneath a rust-red sail. As the clouds rose before us, the sailors raised a yearning shanty and close-hauled the sails to best use the painted wind, and all the while the captain and I discoursed on the secrets of the House of the Sun. So, we'll put that erudition up there. I believe we already have my top levels for everything. We don't have a poison yet. That probably would have been the best way to get rid of Connie Lee. And I've done some good. My patients are quieter than when I began. Alright. So if I want to use the work... So it's always worth taking a minute to think about whether or not I want to use the work verb for anything else. So for instance, can we do a substantial investigation of... oh, sorry, we actually already have one. A very substantial investigation of Forge. So in that case, we'd need level 6. Well, seeing as we're only up to Chiliarch's lesson, that's not going to work. Same story with... Actually, you know what? Hang on. I think with the Unmerciful Mantra, we are able to do the... Yes. So it looks like we can actually turn in the commission with Dr. Redeem, and what we're really waiting for here is the talk verb to become open. Although, again, we want to avoid generating Mystique with Connie Lee on the prowl. And then, of course, same story here with the Grail commission. So in this case, let's get to work there. We've got enough money to keep us going. So let's take our Grail lore. We will add some reason and a little passion, and this may be useful for a commission. Oh, and we've got the dream slot. I forgot. Let's take that fascination and combine it with a fleeting reminiscence. And again, this is just getting threats off the board. There's nothing too special going on there. I'm safe for now. My adversary has not enough evidence to bring the case against me, and they found no new clues. So, it's worth remembering here. So why are we worried about Connie Lee? So the heirist, suffragist, and adventurer. She's recently put her chaotic enthusiasms and considerable wealth at the service of the Suppression Bureau. So Connie Lee is a hunter. The laws of civilization are younger than the laws of the hours, but they too sometimes require a sacrifice. This one is an agent of the law. We've got a mortal. Actually, let me just double check. Yeah, hunter. Mortal, so the long habit of living indisposeth us for dying. Thomas Brown. And the thing that makes Connie Lee quite tricky is that she has the aspect of mystic. This hunter will usually survive attacks by creatures of the Mansus, even if those attacks would otherwise be unstoppable. But on top of that, she has tenacious. This hunter will survive perhaps one physical assault in 3, even when the attack would otherwise be unstoppable. So I think the same rule applies for Mystic. In general, Cultist Simulator actually has these very clearly defined buckets in terms of probabilities. And of course, it's worth remembering that in addition to losing my summons, I generate notoriety, which is one of the reasons why, if it wasn't clear, this is one of the reasons why I pushed some extra effort into leveling up Dorothy and Clovette, because if I do try to make a move on Connie Lee, I'm probably more likely to turn her into a I'm more likely to sorry, if I make a move on Connie Lee, I'm more likely to generate notoriety, and that notoriety needs to be gotten rid of as quickly as possible. And so that's one of the reasons why we're using Dorothy and Clovette the way that we are. I do also want to level up some of these other followers, but again, we're pretty weak in terms of edge, which is a bit of a problem when you are the Church of the Bright Edge. But for now, I think we're just going to have to endure Connie, and we'll, you know, we'll move forward as best as we can. I also don't remember what happens if I let the passionate memory decay. I suppose we'll find out soon. If I do want to make an attack on the hunter, Connie, what I could do, essentially because we're getting close to the end of an expedition, we'll be generating notoriety anyway, this would normally be the time to do it. All doors must open as all lives must end. This door has found its end here today. And we've translated The Rose of Hypatia, a volume of collected teachings from the Sisterhood of the Knot, that arcane contemplative order that existed in all histories, but in some was very powerful indeed. This was recorded by Hypatia and dedicated to Saint Nympha. Saint Nympha is described as not born but cultivated. The sentience that became the saint, the sentience that became the saint Hypatia indicates inhabited a sinner's corpse in order to enable that sinner's redemption. And treasures lie before us, all doors must open, as all lives must end. This door has found its end here today. So as long as we don't generate dread, we're fine. And we do have a season of sickness coming up, so if I can get some vitality, so much the better, but I may have other priorities. Okay, so there's the Grail Commission. Talk Verb will become available in a little bit. So the Institute is pretty forgiving as far as a job is concerned. So one thing I could do is just eat the hit to my funds and pay for the medicine. I may do that, so. There's a dark and clinging smell in the Institute halls that never quite leaves one. Perhaps it is the paint, perhaps it is the patients, perhaps it is something in the walls. Okay, so we are going to go back through the stag door. One of the things that's really nice about the door is that, or about this particular door, is we are gaining, or have the potential to gain, influence that will help us upgrade a lot of our different followers. So it depends on which cult you're running. For instance, if I also were to have a winter cult, going up the sharp stair would potentially get me some influence that helps out. This is kind of true for everything but the secret histories, really. But in this particular case here, where normally that ascent would be something that I would do to try and either avoid fascination or to get a summon, there's actually a pretty even split between which of the two paths I want to go down. And that's simply just driven by the fact that influence is something that's rather useful for my upgrades. It's going to give me disciples a lot earlier than when I would normally get them. So Eau Claire's not yet a cult member, but I sort of messed up the layout of the board. It's already short on space. And one thing I could do with the talk verb here is actually try and use Clovette and Dorothy to get rid of the mystique right away. I think I'll take the risk for now. And what I'll do instead is I'll turn in the commissions and then talk to Eau Claire. I think it's Dr. Redeem that wanted the Lantern Commission, if I'm not mistaken. I have what the doctor requested, and we will go back through the stag door because we're not quite at the point where we need to recover our health. In my dreams I know the path to the stag door. Through the maze of the bounds, Gearby will let me pass, but the path is always a puzzle. I will need reason. Warrior's End. It is almost impossible to stand upright in this place, but the air is foul and our lamps burn low. Here is the warrior king staked out on the funeral stone, his bones smashed to keep him from walking. The orbits of his skull are bound with bronze. Oof. I didn't have lunch before I started this, and I just... my stomach is definitely letting me know that it's unhappy with that choice. So, sorry, I'll try not to complain about it too much, but... Okay, so we got 2 Mystique. Again, the challenge here is, so if you think, like... We'll just sort of think of this from... so, this... Okay. It's not the greatest way of thinking about this from the probabilistic standpoint, because obviously the... well, probabilities are the same, but the weight that I assign to certain outcomes is different. So if you think about this, I'm on the verge of generating a notoriety. In 28 seconds, I'm going to get a notoriety from doing the expedition. So what I can do is send Clovette Clovette or Dorothy to clear out the the reputation, which in normal circumstances would be fine. But remember what it said about Connie Lee. Well, Connie Lee will survive one physical assault in 3. What's the chance of me being able to get rid of the notoriety in an emergency? 1 in 3, unless I generate more mystique, which it's very likely well, I guess right now I control that, so I'm not necessarily going to. So really, I should kind of be indifferent between going after Connie or trying to eliminate the notoriety. In this particular case here, the preferred action is to eliminate the reputation. For the simple reason that if I fail with Connie, I suffer the consequences. I generate more notoriety. So what's the consequence of failing with the reputation? Well, essentially the chance of... So basically the idea here is because it's fairly easy for me to continue churning the reputation. I go from 3 to 2, which now means it's a 50% chance, so I get a second kick at the can. Whereas if I fail with Connie, again, it's not... It depends on the circumstances, but generally I wind up generating something that's pretty severe for me, and I also have to go through the trouble in some situations of resummoning. So that's one of the reasons why I'll be focusing on Clovette. And I guess the question is, do I want to try for... No, you know what? We should probably get the... should probably try and get the reputation handled. So, significant conversations in a smoky meeting room. What do I need from my follower? So here we'll... the headquarters. What am I doing? Not everyone is sympathetic to our aims, but if we have problems with our reputation, our disciple can probably smooth them over. Obviously, that doesn't require a huge amount of elaboration, but from what I understand, people like hearing me talk, so I'm trying to keep that up. Okay. So the Rose of Hypatia, not all the dead enter the Mansis by the winter door. Not all the dead enter the Mansis at all. So we have a Wood Whisper, which is lore we already had, and Words That Walk, which we may have had at some point. I think this is actually new for us, so... The syllables of this formula are compelling. I find myself snapping my fingers to its rhythm. It desires not to cease. Again, some of my favorite writing is, even though I'm very much a Lantern fan in Cultist Simulator, some of my favorite writing is definitely the heart. You can feel the rhythm, you can just feel the jazziness. I'm not quite sure why the Rose Pearl Dust is hanging out here, but we'll move that to the side, and the Warrior's End. Others have been here before us. The power still lingers, and no doubt they've used it in their ceremonies. They've taken some of the Warrior King's funeral treasures, but left something of their own. So, thank you, Valcine. Okay, icy atmosphere, so if I can do something to get rid of that, so much the better. There's the notoriety we were worried about. Good work, Callaghan. We have leftover money, so we've got a percussagant, a hint. And we can use the Book of the Centipede, so that needs translation. Got a bone flute. Its sound will cease. So not quite as impressive compared to the manacles that we've got. Piebald pigment, so we don't really have any place for this. This is forge, this is edge, so I guess we just stick that on the edge of the table and hope it doesn't fall off. Meteoric bullet, so... Oh, wait, I should probably read the description. From the crushed wings of rare, I'm so bad at pronouncing this, Lepidopterans. Painting black or painting white, this is the stuff that'll see you right. Meteoric bullet, Tainite iron bullets are occasionally dug from the skeletons of unusual beasts across Europe, the Middle East, and India. Someone has been hunting monsters. And Grey Dawn oil. So just generally nothing that we can read. So I suppose the next question is, do I want to go directly into Gladwin Lake, or do I want to try and use the explore verb for other purposes? We can keep adding to more remote locations with our forbidden epics. I could try and get some different... basically, I could just try and get different things by going to Street Strange by moonlight. But I think probably we should just make our moves on locations. So we've got Gladwin Lake. Beneath the stark slopes of the fells, the mist-wreathed service of the lake waits. There was a twin altar here before the Romans came, and legend of a serpent who was sent to defile that altar. Okay, so we'll take the Caligine and the Percussagant, and we'll add some money. Beneath the surface of the lake, or in some cliffside nook, perhaps, some relics remain for us yet. And pretty much I'm automatically going to add the hint at the start, but... Okay, let's translate the Book of the Centipede. What am I doing? Lock the study door, the work begins. Now, I'm not indifferent to these two books. I do want to read them, but you can see why I would be inclined to... to read the Book of the Centipede first, because in the end, I don't have, I don't need either of these languages for translation yet. Oh, sorry. You know what? I said I was going to turn in, commissions before talking with Clovan. That's fine. Okay, Season of Ambitions. I need to make sure I have a reason free, which shouldn't be a problem. And we've worked at the Institute just in time to buy our medicine. So, we don't have any commissions that need to be done. If I want to try and do a summoning... So, again, if I want to go hard on Connie Lee, summoning a Maid in the Mirror would not be a bad idea right now. The question is whether or not I think it's worth it. Maybe I just want to try and convert, or otherwise, otherwise handle Connie Lee through less... essentially the game's giving me a warning, right? If I try this stuff, it's more likely to fail than others. So maybe we could try something a little more underhanded. In this case here, I think we'll just go back to the Institute. And I do want to turn in my commissions as soon as I can. Okay, Subtle Rupture would be good for summoning. Let's try the Ascent of Knives. Great, so we do have a Furious Air. That puts a little pressure on me, but I think I can handle it. So anger is implicit in every shape. Of the place my dreams took me last night, this has been written. The ascent is glass, the walls are knives, each step is blood. I did not climb far, the pain was too great. When I woke, that pain remained with me, a pain that I could employ to occult purposes if I hurry. And that's exactly what we're going to use it for. So this is one of the reasons why the Furious Air becomes such a... Or this is one of the reasons why the Stag Door becomes such an asset for me, because every time I get one of these, I'm able to upgrade someone to a disciple. Actually, you know what? I believe I can already upgrade Victor and company to disciples now that I have the Meteoric Bullet. I'm not going to test it with them. I'm going to test it with some others, but we should probably take care of Enid and Neville first. So the question is, do I want to wait a few seconds? Yeah, you know what? I'll wait a few seconds. We'll go back through the Stag Door. I was just trying to decide when I wanted to heal, but we're not in any immediate danger there. Alright, the standards of Daylight Society cannot apply to us, but perhaps we won't emphasize that point. Perhaps we'll rely on charm and good humor. I have supplied elegant platitudes about the high principles of our organization. So I do want to be careful of this one, but I think we should be able to handle things. Maybe not, actually. We'll see. That is going to turn into dread. Optimism is the spice which saves. Clovette's optimism is daunting. She wields her joy like a hammer. Okay, so I have two options here. One, I can try and get rid of the chilly atmosphere through a either bringing someone in, so that would be obviously incredibly appropriate for Eau Claire, but that would mean that I need to sort of give up the benefit of the Furious Air. Well, I may not have to give up the benefit of the Furious Air, but either way, well, it's date night in 5 seconds with Enid, so I guess we'll upgrade Neville. Um, oops. Neville pauses before he speaks and flinches easily. He's sensitive to deeper matters. Oh, wow. It's a lot more powerful than I thought it was. So, I am a little curious then, if I could take the Meteoric Bullet and Chiliarch's Lesson. Interesting. I didn't think it was that easy. So that must mean... So we take Victor... to at least the 7th and... Okay, no, that's fine. So we do that there. Well... the need for the... It's like, here's the catch, right? The Furious Air would be really helpful for further upgrading my edge followers, but I didn't think that I would be at a point where I could take advantage of that yet. So, the fact of the matter is that I don't actually need the Furious Air the same way that I thought I did. And so it's better for me to try and get rid of the threat. Admittedly, we do have a season of ambitions coming up. But in this case here, we're going to add Eau Claire to the cult. So Eau Claire has a scholarly aspect and a morbid streak. So here we'll add the chilly atmosphere. We'll do the ceremony with Chiliarch's Lesson. This one is ready. So that eliminates the potential dread. It does mean that the Furious Air gets a little stale, but that's life. In the mid-1860s, when Madame Yi presented an entertainment-based, she claimed, on this book, which is what we will now read. The centipede always found her way into the dark places. When she was punished for it, she reacted badly in the Mansis as in Maya. Her strength is matchless, eyes like gas lamps, scales like black jade. A serpent is a powerful foe, but it is nothing against us. Or before us. Okay, Season of Silence. Nothing to report there. And we'll just keep working at the Institute until we have other opportunities. Let's try the Painted River. Cool. The attention of the hours is drawn to the bloodiest wars. Afterwards, the histories are braided like hair. There's a great chamber in the Mansis through which the Painted River flows. The vagabond, it is claimed, painted it from memory in the years before she left the house. Certainly, there are histories concealed in its design. I traced them with my hand last night. There were fragments of aquamarine paint beneath my nails, flecks of gold leaf when I was done. Okay. So here we'll deal with our affliction now. And we've got a rousing air, so this is still level 6 intensity, so I can still use it, but again, I already have a means of bringing my followers up to the disciple level, so I will, I'm kind of sitting on that for a little while. Okay, Dr. Redeem's ready for another commission. So, before they speak the words, the novice must sharpen a knife so it can separate a drifting thread, and it be not sharp enough, it will be the worse for them. So Eau Claire is quiet, meticulous, and remorseless. So, let's get rid of some commissions first. So I think it was Madame Bichet that wanted the Grail commission. We'll grab one from Dr. Redeem next. Nothing we can do about the very substantial Edge commission yet, sadly. Receive the currency of the secret world, and my patron has let tantalizing information slip. So that maybe wasn't the smartest choice now that I think of it, because I do have the mystique and notoriety problem. So, I guess the question is, do I want to try and upgrade people, or do I want to try and send Clovette and Dorothy to clear out some more problems? Let's start with, first of all, what problems am I up against? Nothing I can't handle. So what I'm going to do is start upgrading some of my edge followers. I normally do this for the knock followers, but because the edge lore is sorry, the edge influence is now worth something to me. Victor is a sly fellow, but loyal. And because this is worth more to me now, I want to make sure that the trips to the Mantis that do result in a... Oh, the desert inside. If I cannot consume the thoughts of a living mind, my need will turn in upon itself. So I should have been paying attention to that. Time alone in a quiet room with a living mind. That's all I need. The river runs through the sands out of myth and into legend. The painted river runs the other way. One is barred to the centipede now, but she finds ways back in sometimes. Okay, that's another Forgotten Chronicle. Yeah, sorry, it was, for some reason I thought it was the Season of Ardors, but that is definitely not the Season of Ardors. The Simpet rolls and roars, its death throes shake the earth, but it's dying, and we will pass. Okay, so I should have been using the study verb in the meantime. So in this case here, Gartside Sanskrit Reader and the Journal of Alessandro Lacrosse, or yeah, I think it's Lacrosse. These are worth something now to me because right now the study verb is sitting idle. So Gartside Sanskrit Reader, a lucid book which outlines a careful path through the thickets of a vast and complex language. The name has been translated as the refined language. The Mantis dims in me. I am less than I was. I need conversation. I must have those particular conversations. Okay, well, we did get the Course of the Heart. A little too late for my health. Actually, probably brought on specifically because of my health, but that's life. I won't get too upset about it. And we'll go back to the Institute, and at this point, I think just another trip through the Stag Door. Maybe hope that we get lucky in terms of our ascent. The chapel route. There are ruins beneath the water, just beneath at waiting depth. The lake has risen a little in all these years, but not enough to keep us out. Okay, I don't have any fascination to worry about right now, so I'm fine. My scars are weapons. Through striving, I rise to victory. There is no defeat but annihilation. In the light of the bright edge, we know ourselves. I pledge myself to the service of the strongest. So Victor has sharpened his cunning to a concentrated point. Now, my guess here is the thrilling air is not really going to push us over the edge here, but let's just make sure that I'm not making things up. I don't know why I put the meteor... Oh, no, the meteoric bullet's actually worth more. Yeah, so that's definitely not going to work. So 21st intensity. Actually, now that I think of it, so if we get 5 edge... Well, I can just read it here. So the best we could hope for... so in this case, we would be adding a level 10... excuse me. We'd be adding a level 10 influence. And so that would only take us up to 19, which means that we basically just need one more level of edgelore. But we're not at that level yet. Okay, so 2 minutes before the notoriety goes away, but then we have a fresh one that's building up. So I guess the question is, do I want to try and spend the time... Yeah, you know what? We should probably be minding things a little bit better with the reputation. It's hard though, right? Because I want to send people off to the next expedition almost immediately. Alright, the chapel crypt is flooded and the water soupy with old corpse matter, but at last we bring up a wax-sealed coffer. 18th century? No, older than that. Let's see what's within. So, we're probably going to have to send the hint in first next time. I should probably just put 1 funds in and be done with it, but I tend to get into the habit of just putting everything in because it's nice. It's kind of like putting money in an account that you can't immediately access. It just slowly builds up and, you know, you get happy one day when you need it. So we've got those indignities perpetrated by the deceitful fraternity of oblivions. Witch-kissed oil, so that's heart, if I recall correctly. Formula remains unchanged since the days Hecate was worshipped at the crossways, or possibly Hecate? I don't know, I've always said Hecate, so. And then the Orchid Transfigurations, Volume 3. Okay, so as always, the question is, what do we do with our expeditions? And for me, even though we are at risk of generating a lot of notoriety, I think we just keep moving on to the next location. So Lockwood Fen. The reeking murk of the Fenlands is ripe with furtive life. Taciturn locals still watch the sacred places of the small and secret gods, the ones that answer prayers. So here we'll take the Caligine and the hint. Again, 2 funds, though we should only need 1. Out into the Mudlands somewhere, we are certain there is a shrine bedecked with precious oddments. If the locals try to kill us, we are probably heading in the right direction. I didn't get a commission from Dr. Adim, did I? Okay. Mind our manners as far as the dread is concerned, but otherwise we'll be fine. And so many words, such little time. I will keep my reference works close at hand. So now we can start translating and reading works again. Probably not a good idea to read the Winter book, but we can take our Latin and translate the Orchid Transfigurations, 16th century alchemical fever dream attributed to Robert Flood, frequently banned for the disturbing allure of its illustrations. I do have some plans for the summons that are expiring, so I'm not too worried about that. I believe this gives me Winter. Yeah. Painted river runs from a great chamber near the White Door, far through the Mansis, to its far edge, where it enters a painted delta of far-off cloud. I voyaged half its length last night, with a stern-faced captain beneath a rust-red sail. As the clouds rose before us, the sailors raised a yearning shanty and close-hauled the sails to best use the painted wind. And all the while, the captain and I discoursed the secrets of the House of the Sun. So I suppose this is kind of nice that I have a bunch of erudition. Again, I can't remember what happens in the season of ambitions. I should probably get a good read on that. So as always, the question is, what do I do with the work slot? What do I do with the dream slot? And I think we keep going back to the Mansis. And then for work, it would have been nice to have a commission to work on. I'm not ready to do that, so I can try and resummon the Percussigant, which is unnecessary right now. Oh, actually, here's a question. Yeah. So I think just going back to the Institute's the answer here. Given my agents the opportunity to serve, let us hope that it ends well for us. Well, oh, we do have 2 obstacles. So the Watchers are probably the second. In this case, we just need to add one of our Forge followers. Okay, another Mystique got picked up, so not a lucky day for us. This notoriety will probably go away on its own, but the second one, and of course the third that I generate out of here, I'm going to need to take care of. So. Watchmen will lend virtue to our lamps. They should probably show us the perils to avoid. Probably. So let's add Cat Caro to make the job a little easier. Her speech is affable conversation. No one understands us, or else they understand us too well. So if I explore with this, I would be able to get a new follower. However, the expedition's not going to be done in time, so unlucky for me. Let's talk with Dr. Adim before I lose the opportunity for a commission again. And the Orchid Transfigurations only change is to say that it's a later English translation. So we'll read that right away. A long dialogue between the Mountain Mother and the Vigilant Storm describes the ways in which both mountains and storms end, and the protections they use against those ends. Okay, we'll find out what happens in a season of ambitions before too long. Let's try. Yep. It's a great chamber in the Mansis through which a painted river flows. The vagabond, it is claimed, painted it from memory in the years before she left the house. Certainly there are histories concealed in its design. I traced them with my hand last night. There were fragments of aquamarine paint beneath my nails and flecks of gold leaf when I was done. So, once again, into the Mansis. I know this seems a little grindy, and it is to a certain extent, but it's exciting once you are really looking for a specific item. In 4 seconds, we'll see what the commission is. So I think I'll wait to see what we're up against. Easy lantern commission. So next up we'll talk with Madame Bichet. She's seeking pieces for the Notorious Caresham Review. And here we'll just do a simple lantern commission. Save across the treacherous ground. We're mud spattered and thorn scratched, but we've made it through. And here a substantial commission on Moth, so that should be easy for us to do as well, although it does run the risk of generating an old unhappy far off things, which would mean that I probably want to paint a bit more. So one question might be, why haven't I been painting more this time around? Well, you know, the Institute's okay for money, and I don't necessarily want the notoriety to keep accumulating, so that's really the main reason. Although I've kept my talk verb idle for no reason. So, Dorothy, could you please launder our reputation? Alright, so the Watchers, we have more than enough edge to take care of them, so I'm just going to keep that there. Alright, exotic cravings. What hungers drive us? Alright, so, time alone in a quiet room with a living mind. That's all I need. So, the last words of a living mind. In this case, basically I need prisoners. I have this one in the palm of my hand, so I can stick people in the cupboard. Probably not something for my followers, but yeah, I have a pretty, I have a pretty straightforward way of acquiring. Before we must use the knife, said the lion-thorned one, the noose, the flame, the waking word against those who have passed the three-valve door. And so none may pass. That is our law and the law of the sun. So a thunderous secret, if I want, I can start upgrading on the way to a waking chant. I do actually kind of want to start doing this, but when I have books that are unread, there's no point in using the study verb for other things like that. We will translate... Yeah, no, we should be fine. So we'll start by translating those indignities perpetrated by the deceitful fraternity of Obliviots. This book is as famous for its near-incoherent fury of its tone as for the knowledge it contains, and we are translating that from Latin. Once again, I think this is where I get my edge from, although again, we don't necessarily need the edge. Yeah. We read the like I said, this is a little bit of a looser run on here, so I'm playing... This isn't exactly how I would play on my own time. Anytime you have to kind of talk about the game, it's a little artificial. But in this case here, I'm definitely getting a little bit looser with the play, and I sort of take a few more things for granted. I don't want to, again, I don't want it to be completely abandoning any effort to do like a proper broadcast. I think, you know, if I want to play the game on my own, it's just as easy for me to, you know, to play it without recording. But in terms of just sort of reading and establishing mood and things like that, I'll read it, but I'm a little more willing to skip over some of the certain texts. Because again, the hope here is that this is a nice little interlude. This is something for me to experiment with a few different things. And if I can, some of that information will be taken into future episodes when I do the, you know, the more formal thing that I've got planned. So it's a not very restful break. I'm good at those. So actually, maybe this, while I'm working this through, I'm still probably going to go back through the stag door because it's my best option with my... It's the best option with what I have right now. So one thing I wanted to talk a little bit about was the idea of having a certain character. So obviously, Lord Percival's Stabbe is very different from Ike Upscribe, where there are some characters where one of the most basic questions I can sort of ask in the case of Cultist Simulator is, what is this character's attitude towards violence? Because one thing that's interesting about Cultist Simulator is you have absolutely no obligation to do anything bad, right? If you want... I mean, one of the simplest ways of playing and winning Cultist Simulator is to do a good job at the bank, or, you know, whatever. Glover & Glover is a little ambiguous as to what it does. I always sort of imagined a bank. I think I've heard people say an insurance firm as well, which, you know, again, it's another financial services company, so it's, you know, especially in Canada, it's sort of... it's a distinction largely without a difference depending on how large it gets. But you know, and essentially, you don't have to do anything too naughty to, you know, to have a quote unquote good ending. You know, it's also possible to ascend. Is it actually possible? Yeah, I think it's possible to ascend in this game. Maybe not every legacy without committing misdeeds. So, you know, you have a few different paths that you can go. So in this case here, obviously the edge. I mean, one thing that's kind of interesting with the edge is to think of it less of just pure violence, and you can almost think of it like Assassin's Creed, right, where you have this sort of naive view as to what the assassins are about or what their rules talk about. I think the games actually explicitly address this. But there is a tremendous amount of restraint, and there is a very large amount of kind of consideration in terms of the actions that the assassins in that game will take. So you can definitely have sort of the Church of the Bright Edge not be this, just this kind of anarchist collective or something like that. I guess maybe anarchist is the right word. Basically, you don't need to just constantly choose violence in this particular one. I wasn't actually originally planning on doing Edge. I think during the broadcast I realized that I don't actually have the fully upgraded follower for Edge. So our strength is matchless. The Watchers will almost certainly regret standing against us. On the other hand, though, you'll notice that pretty much every solution in this time around for Lord Stabbe has been to murder something, basically. I didn't read that again. Anyways, my need gnaws at me, and again, taking up the erudition is not that bad. If I cannot consume the thoughts of a living mind, I will need to turn in upon myself. Alright, hopefully we are clear of the notoriety. This is never guaranteed to work, but we might get lucky. It is not clear whether CROD, who is identified only by his initials, was in fact an initiate of the Obliviate Order of Immortal Adepts. He wrote in the 16th century after the order, if he is to be believed, had passed the height of its power. 58. That they did claim inheritance of the traditions of the House of Leith, but that they have disregarded its most sacred and most beautiful ceremonies where they are not found. Where they are not found convenient. 59. I think I keep a book like this at work. Oh god, I cannot remember this one. I think this gives me erudition? Nope, this was the Edge, right. We just had this, so I thought... Oh, this is actually going to go straight into the... Yeah, I made a boo-boo. I dreamt of the mansis behind the white door, of the great space above the orchard, and the space that overlooks the bounds, the space where the vagabond once painted her river. Painted ships passed upon the painted river. I met the painted eyes of a painted captain. She saluted, and the motion was like the layered movement of clouds. The sail of the ship was amber, and the captain's eyes the green of new barley, and the river aquamarine. Now that I'm awake, I see those colors still. So we are starting to lose our grip on reality. We'll get through it. I'm not too worried about it, but let's take a second here. We'll go work at the Institute before we become a patient, and we do not have a season of despair coming up, so something that generates dread, such as this book, might be just what the doctor ordered. Alright, once more into the stag door, or through the stag door. And we'll be coming close to the end of our time together, so I'll try and wrap up a few items. And sadly, we did not get rid of the notoriety. Shame on you, Dorothy. And let's charm them. Okay, treasures lied before us. Their blood pumps bright, then dark. They should not have opposed us. We move on. So I'm going to try and acquire some prisoners before too long, but right now if I get the 6th mark, it doesn't really mean a whole lot. The Ring-Used Shrine. Success. I'll know more soon. Another Season of Vision, so this is basically the same as a free turn. Now I share the right that the Order used to summon a Callagine spirit. In clear defiance of the Lethean tradition, they did not offer Nock lore with a Winter Initiate and a Malleus Imperative, but rather Winter lore with a Nock Initiate and the Malleus. It is not to be borne. So we have the Rite of the Watchman's Sorrow, so we've already got that one, and the Operation of the Declining Sun, which we also have. So sadly, no dread for us. That'll make things a little inconvenient, but we'll get through it. So at this point, we might as well get some more words. We do have probably about 40 seconds before we'll get some new books, but I mean, no reason not to pick up the... I think it's pronounced Fusine, but Prince Alessandro Lacrosse spent years in secret study... of the tablets taken from the Fusine marshes in central Italy. His work will allow you to decipher Fusine texts. So it has something in common with Latin, something else in common with the scratchings of maddened rats. I always thought I needed Latin to read this. And we'll skip over the text for now just because we've got precious little time together. So, the Ring-Used Shrine. Apple green paint marks ritual circles on the rock. The remains of sacrifices past squelch beneath our feet as we search the shrine. In a little hollow in the throne rests an oiled bundle of treasures. Sorry, I didn't read this before. So here on a flat rock, inches above the marsh water, is a throne carved of yew wood, ripe with fungus, ornamented with tarnished copper. This is the shrine we seek. And then apple green paint marks the ritual circles on the rock. The remains of sacrifices past squelch beneath our feet as we search the shrine. In a little hollow in the throne rests an oiled bundle of treasures. So let's bring everybody back in. So notoriety. Again, hopefully we are getting rid of this one with our followers, but I have an icon of St. Agnes, so that'll help me with summonings if I need. I guess we'll have to move. We'll get a new layer going down here. Vital pigment. So I should read. St. Agnes of Bohemia was renowned for her pious dedication to the mortification of the flesh. This icon makes for grisly viewing. So, winged doll. In an attic above a skeleton house there was a window. Beside the window there was a box. In the box there was a bandage. In the bandage was a twist of clotted hair. In the hair was wound a doll because the window had never been opened. And finally the flayed tantra. So this is the one text that we got. It's tantra recorded. Well, you know what? We'll read that when we're ready to translate it. So I think this will be it. So this is kind of a model of what it'll be like. I'll try and do an hour recording. Just a fair warning to those of you who have gotten used to me doing Wednesdays and Fridays. One of the reasons why the videos are 20 minutes, like one of the reasons I was able to do 2 broadcasts a week was because those videos were 20 minutes. So I'm actually spending more time recording one single video than I am the 2. And I'm going to do my best to stay on top of that. But please keep in mind that this is something of an ambitious goal I'm setting for myself in terms of just the amount of time that I can spend on recording. What I'm trying to do is just set aside an hour each day of the weekend to do the recording, and that is challenging, but I'm also hoping that because I can get through the game a little bit faster, that it won't be something that I need to sustain for a long time. And if it turns out that the longer videos are preferred, I'll just have to think a little bit about how I can make that a more long-term thing. But it's pretty clear what our plans are going to be for the next few turns. We've got 5 5 expeditions to go on right now. We've done a pretty decent job of managing all of our priorities. We do have Old and Happy Far Off Things coming up next, so I will do a painting even if I don't have that much reputation to kick around. And then I suppose I need to think how I'm going to get my ascension reasonably quickly. But the thing is with those ascensions is that normally you need to have, a certain level of lore anyway. So this usually means doing expeditions and so on and so forth. The fact that we have Connie Lee up against us does mean that our advance is a bit slower, just simply because we don't have the normal means at our disposal to, well, dispose of Connie Lee. Well, we have them, but again, they're less reliable. But that's part of the fun. We'll see if we can get around it. And I know I have a couple of conditions that I would like to meet before I finish the particular this particular playthrough. But I'm extending my goodbye longer than it needs to be. So I'll say thank you very much for watching. If you have enjoyed either the past series or this continued one and have not yet subscribed, please consider doing so. I definitely would like to grow the channel. And it does help me if you leave a like or a comment. And of course, if it wasn't for you, you can leave a dislike as well. Although, while you're staying to the end of an hour-long video, I'm not 100% sure. Feel free to let me know that in the comments too. Maybe there's a bunch of people who hate watch these. Anyways, I will probably see you all. This would probably show up on a Wednesday, so I will see you. Oh crap! I got to do another one of these. No, this will be a Friday. Okay. This should probably show up on a Friday, so I will see you next week, Wednesday. Until then.